Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talks with Kalpna, CXO Spotlight. Over the past few conversations in this cybersecurity leadership series, we have explored cyber gap assessments, compliance maturity, and how organizations operationalize security controls in real environments. Today, we focus on one area that quietly determines whether an organization survives a ransomware attack, that is, backup readiness. Because in many real world incidents, organizations rarely discover weakness in their backup strategy during audits. They discover them during recovery exercises or worse, during live incidents. And by then, it's often too late. So I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Suprakash Guha. He's the Associate Vice President, Customer Quality and Chief Information Security Officer at Lumina Datamatics. With nearly 3 decades of experience across information security, quality systems, and enterprise process governance. Also joining us is Mr. Saurabh Barjatiya, co-founder and Chief Technology Officer at Cybervigilens, who works closely with enterprises assessing cyber resilience readiness across complex environments. A warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kalpna, for the warm welcome. Hi, Saurabh.
Hi, Suprakash. Thanks, Kalpna. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank you. So, Suprakash, let me begin with a simple but important question. Like many organizations believe they are safe because backup exists. Yet, ransomware incidents continue to expose recovery failures. From your experience, where does the gap really lie between having backups and being able to recover successfully?
Yeah. Thank you, Kalpna. Thanks for the beautiful questions. And you have set the tone here. So as per my experience, everyone is taking the backup. So we have the daily backup schedule, weekly backup schedule, monthly backup schedule, and the project in backup schedule. And backups is happening, the dashboards are coming green. But what we are getting satisfied, okay, we are taking the backup. But what we are not doing, we are not checking, the people not checking whether the recovery is proper or not. So that is the missing things here. People are thinking, okay, backup has been taken. It is in the DR side backup, or it might be air gap technology backup with some, immune technologies. We are safe. But the missing is we are not testing whether the backup is in full in nature, whether the RPO and RTO has been set to meet the client delivery due to the disaster time, and whether the backup is complete. So many cases happen like we are taking the file backup, but we don't take the application backup. So in the disaster time, we take the recovery of the files, but it will not run till the time the applications is there. So testing is very important. The recovery testing is very important, which is the missing, and that is the gap what is there in the industry now.
Yeah. So that distinguish between availability and recoverability is extremely important. And many organizations only begin recognizing it after incidents, not before them. So let me bring in Saurabh into this. Saurabh, when organizations undergo external cyber resilience assessments, how often do you see backup confidence not matching actual recovery readiness?
Kalpna, while backup is the best uh, way to handle ransomware or a very, very technical attacker, like even likes of Google, Facebook, Meta, they also get attacked and they get compromised, and then they release a public note or release that they were compromised, something happened. So for smaller organizations with much smaller technical team, much smaller budgets, chances are that we will also get compromised, and backup is our last line of defense. But we see huge gaps on the ground. I have talked to a few customers, fairly big companies, but they said they have backups only of critical data. Non-critical data, they don't have backups. But when we say, okay, can I do this maintenance? And if these things go wrong, all your non-critical data will be lost. They say, no, I cannot have that. So in their mind, they think, okay, this is critical, the rest is not critical, so I'll do backup of critical. But the moment I even propose, okay, your non-critical data will get deleted, they get afraid. No, I will have all this implication. So the clarity of what needs to be backed up itself is missing. Restoration is a problem. If I do backups to tape and cloud from my current backup server, many people miss out that they need to have something called a configuration backup or a catalog backup also in the tape or in the cloud, so that if my entire DC is down, if my entire main primary data center is down, first I will have to build my backup server. Then only from my backup server, I can read the tape and the cloud. So what people think, okay, I have data in tape, tapes are outside my organization. I have data in cloud, they are outside my organization. something happens to me, I'll restore. But they miss this critical point that they don't have the catalog backup or the database backup itself. And if their backup server has some issue, although they actually have backup data, it is not readable. It cannot be restored because the coordinator or the main intelligence, the backup system which can restore it, is not available. And third thing we have seen is lack of understanding on immutable backup or offline backup. Since the adversary is very advanced, any attacker is spending 6 months, 7 months, 8 months into an environment. It doesn't happen that today I get compromised, today itself they will start doing some ransomware attack or delete my data. Attacker spends close to 7, 8 months, 9 months in my environment. The biggest goal the attacker has to find where my backups are and do something to my backups. Because if they don't compromise my backups, if they give me a ransomware message, I will simply ignore it. I will reformat my system and I'll restore from backup. So they don't get paid unless I have no choice to pay them. And the only way for them to force me to pay is by compromising my backups, right? So attackers spend a lot of time in the environment looking at backups. If my backups are not immutable, if I don't have offline backups, if my restoration is not done properly, then it's very easy for attacker to spend few months, figure out everything, and then one fine day they do attack. They first compromise backups, then they come to the production later. So these are the gaps that we are seeing in the industry when we are talking to the customers and when we are evaluating environments, especially after a ransomware attack.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. I think great insights. Let's break these all the points, moving forward. And so let's go one layer deeper into what actually breaks during recovery. Suprakash, in incident scenarios, organizations often discover restore dependency they never anticipated. So, what are the most common restore related assumptions that fail during real recovery exercises?
Right. Very good question. So restore failure happens because we don't test it and we don't have the complete set of applications and the file which is required to run the business. So all of us know that business runs on various parameters. It needs the file, it needs the database, it needs the application, it needs the training material. So everything is required, not only the file. So the problem happens, the lack of restore testing and lack of completeness on the restoration, which which actually don't allow to start the work during the problematic time. So that is the myth what we have, and we have to come out of this, and we should increase the full restoration process, do the BCP testing frequently. When the disaster not there, every quarterly we suggest that we should do the restoration testing, and as and when there is any changes happen in the policies and process, we should also restore the file and check whether it is actually running or not. So that is the things which you have to think it. And also risk management play a very big role in this case. So it is not a technical solution. The backup is a part of the risk management, and it has to be discussed on the severity, occurrences, and detection process. And RPN value has to be calculated on what is the backup needed, and based on that we should process. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's quite interesting how backup testing is still treated as technical task rather than a resilience exercise.
Yeah. Right.
So, sort of from your assessment experience, how frequently should enterprises realistically validate restore readiness?
Kalpna, so if the infrastructure is vast, it's not practical to restore all the workloads very frequently. But what we recommend is at least once a year, everything should have been restored once. So if I have 100 virtual machines, let's say, at least 25 of them I should restore every quarter, and not all restoration from the easiest method, which is disk. While I can do bulk of my restoration from disk, I have to restore from tape also and the cloud also, and not to restore on in my own data center. Assuming it's a disaster recovery case and my entire data center is down, I have to try to restore it in some other new environment also. So as long as organizations ensure that everything gets restored at least once a year, so basically 25% of restoration every quarter, and they do it from multiple sources, they restore it at least a few things to a new environment, I think they will have a lot more observations and planning and practice, so that during a real disaster, people are not tense. See, already they are facing a disaster or an attack, so there's already some tension and anxiety. If they have not done it too many times, they will just freeze. People freeze and they don't make the right decisions. So it's very, very important to repeat it as many times as possible so that the confidence is high. If in the worst case we have to do these steps.
Yeah, sure. So that makes the meaningful restore validation that actually look like in practice.
Yes.
Makes
Yes.
sense. Thank you for breaking that down. So let's now move into one of the most important shifts in modern backup strategy, which is immutability. That sort of you talked about it a while ago. So Suprakash, attackers don't just target production systems. They increasingly target backup layers as well. So how critical, according to you, has immutability become in the enterprise backup strategies today, being a CISO?
Right. So very important question. So this is very important that immutability has to be built in place, starting from the access control, then super access control and the password management. All these thing has to be put in place. And as you told correctly, the backup is the most vulnerability area and most effective area for the attackers to do that, because if they can destroy that, the whole infrastructure cannot be taken out and they cannot start the operations. It's a business loss, it is a financial loss, it is a reputation loss. So that's why immutable backup is very important. But practically implementing the immutable solution is another challenge, because by saying it is very easy, we need the proper access control, password changing, the more complex password, single time password, MFA and all. But if we do all these things during the emergency time, the getting the recovery also is a challenge. So again, it comes to the testing. We have to balance between the immutable backup process as well as the recovery process, and we should do the proper testing whether real time we are able to get that, and same time our backup is also safe. So it's a balance between that immutable strategy as well as the recovery.
Yeah, especially in regulatory environments, immutability is quickly moving from optional to essential. So, yeah. So, sort of from your experience working with enterprise environments, where do organizations typically struggle while implementing immutable backup architectures?
Kamlanji, when they are doing immutable backup, one is, of course, the software and the hardware has to support. If I'm using a backup application or I have a backup target which doesn't support immutability, that's one challenge. Second is management agreement that yes, we want to go with immutable backup, because it's a double-edged sword. Today I take a backup and for whatever reason I say that this backup should be there for 1 year, and if that is a mistake, that backup is wrong and it was too big a backup and I did not need it for 1 year, because it is immutable, now I also cannot delete it, right? So if between the governance and compliance, if I've gone for a compliance mode when no user, even super user administrator, cannot delete a backup. So we have seen organization which did some backup sizing. They thought that the backup appliance will work for them for 5 years, but within 4 months they ran out of backup space. But the problem is these backups were immutable, so they could not delete these backups at all. So the challenges are the cost. We have to factor in the software cost, license cost. Team has to be skilled, and then it's a double-edged sword. While I will be sure that yes, my backups cannot be deleted by an attacker, I also have to be realistic that I also cannot delete that backup. So if those backups have taken some space, and we did a wrong backup saying that it should be there for 1 year, now I also cannot delete it. So those are the practical challenges on the ground: availability of licensing, skills, and then the management approvals, because this requires very high skilled, very accurate way of managing things. If we make mistakes while we do immutable backup, we ourselves can suffer without requiring an attacker to attack.
So, does that means that only large enterprises are able to cope up with this? And also at the same time, does smaller organizations really, need to take care of the immutability part of it?
So if the scope is small, if the organization is small, or if the budgets are small, we typically don't recommend going for tape offline, because tape management is a headache, and on-prem immutable is also fairly expensive. Unless the organization is big, it doesn't make sense. But cloud immutable is very easy, because we are not paying anything special to the cloud provider to give me immutable. So there are something called warm tapes on cloud. I can do a backup on tape. I can say that this tape cannot be deleted for 1 week, 10 days, 1 month, whatever. And then cloud provider will not allow me to delete. Similarly, there are object storages on all major provider. You can take Amazon, you can take Azure, you can take Google. All of them give you immutable backup object storage, and most backup vendors support immutable copy to cloud. So if my organization is small and I do some immutable backup to cloud, it serves two purposes. It is an immutable backup. It is also my offsite backup. If something happens to my primary data center, I don't have to worry. The only thing I need is internet. Nowadays, it's much cheaper. Some cost proportional to the storage on the cloud provider, which is reasonable. and I don't have to do anything special for immutability. That is provided by cloud providers for free or as part of the service. So all I need is a backup software and I'm good to go.
Sure. So, which means that there is a mindset requirement also, which probably CISOs has to create in the boardroom when it comes to getting the budgets for if there are certain additional infra required for immutability or even I think for backup resilience. So there's there is a mindset which is required. So coming back to Suprakash, backup resilience is no longer just IT responsibility. So how should CISOs position backup readiness in boardroom level risk conversations today?
Right. So as you told correctly, backup is not an only IT solution, it's a strategic movement. So as a CISO, you have to present that it's a strategic movement to keep the backup. And we have to present, like as Saurabh mentioned, how the immutable is required, DR site is required. Suppose our organization, like we have the multi-location, operations. So we keep one location backup in other location backup in other location, so that anything happen to the infrastructure, primary infrastructure, we have the backup in other place. So that way, we have to move it as a strategy way, and we should take that FME approach, the risk-based approach, to showcase to the business and to the leaders that if we don't do this, this is the impact, this is the business impact. This much of values will be lost, or the face value will be going. So we have to present everything to the board in the monetary value. If we don't spend that, 1 crore rupees today, then tomorrow the loss will be 10 crore rupees, 10x. So it will be an issue there. So you have to always present with the numbers, with the values and with the figures, so that they can understand the risk and take that as a strategic initiative as part of the business continuity process and the IT disaster management things. So that way you have to present to the boards. Yeah.
Yeah. So increasingly, recovery capability defines organizations' trust during crisis.
Exactly.
So, Saurabh, do you see enterprises integrating backup maturity into broader ISO 27001 frameworks or business continuity programs effectively today?
Yes, Kalpna ji. I think most of the standards that we look at, ISO is like what you suggested, ISO 27001, they are very particular about backups, audit of backups, whether I am taking backup of all my production machines, am I restoring, how frequently I'm restoring, what kind of audit logs do I have, do I have business continuity process, do I have a DR site, how frequently am I doing the DR drill. So all the standards today, all or any kind of audit that auditor does, or if I am supplying some services to some company and they do vendor management, all in all these kinds of audits and cases, my backups are being checked and my confidence on my backup is being checked, because it is very, very important for me, for an organization to fulfill its purpose. If we are struggling with our own data, if our servers are down and then data is lost, what Suprakash ji mentioned, brand impact, psychology impact, financial loss, it's very difficult for somebody else to trust me and give me business. So as part of all standards, including vendor management, we are regularly seeing that there's an entire section just on backups. So it is being treated very seriously. It's just that as more and more organizations become certified and they become more compliant to the certificate, I think we'll see more maturity in the backups.
Yeah, so excellent perspectives from both of you. Now it's time for a quick but interesting rapid fire round. Short answers, instinctive responses. So, Suprakash, you go first, and Saurabh, feel free to add a one-line perspective after each response. Ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, one backup myth enterprises still believe.
No, we don't believe.
Uh, I think disk backup is enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one control every organization should implement immediately, Suprakash.
So they should immediately implement the backup recovery strategy.
Yeah. So, one mistake CISOs repeat in ransomware readiness planning.
Ransomware readiness planning, the CISO should get ready with, like, what is the RTO and RPO defined in case of disaster. They should define it in advance.
Yeah. So, one metric both should ask about backup resilience.
What is the RTO in case of any disaster?
So, Saurabh, you want to add something?
Kalpna ji, I think confidence. How many times have we restored? What's the confidence level? So that board is aware that how much practice we have done in restoring. So that way they know, okay, during a real disaster, it will not be first time that we are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful insights from both of you. As we move into the final stretch of our discussion, Suprakash, what is one step organizations can take in the next 90 days to improve recovery confidence, as what Saurabh mentioned?
They should have a plan for doing the recovery testing, the full backup recovery testing, and check it properly whether the business is running without the live server. So that message I want to give it to all the CISOs and do this testing thoroughly.
Sure. And looking slightly ahead, what are some of your top security priorities for 2026?
Security top priorities is the SIM solutions we have to implement and the DLP solutions we have to implement here in our organization, as well as we are looking for some enterprise level DR site air gap technology backup for multi-locations operations.
Sure. So, sort of from your experience working with organizations across environments, what separates enterprises that recover quickly from those that struggle after ransomware attacks?
Kalpna ji, if the attack has already happened, so it's a mix of things. Backup, like we have been discussing, is of course one, and the restore testing and the confidence. But having stringent firewall rules so that the attacker cannot move that easily, segmentation or micro segmentation, as well as having a very good modern next generation antivirus. Like Suprakash ji mentioned, if you have a SIM tool, if you have visibility across all your endpoint servers, perimeter, everything, the more visibility we have, the more 24/7 visibility we have, the quick we can react, the more technical the team is, and how good is our rest of the toolkit. Of course, backup is one part, but if I don't have a good antivirus, I don't have network segmentation, I don't have a SIM tool, then there's limited value that backup can deliver. So if it's a combination of whole things, if all of it is there, then I think we can react fast. In one particular customer case, I remember one of their public server was compromised before attacker could do anything, lateral movement or data deletion or data exfiltration. Within 15 minutes, they realized something is wrong. They saw just too much traffic happening from that machine. The firewall team saw a lot of denied traffic from that machine to bunch of bad IPs. They informed. Within 15 minutes, we took action. And when we did a forensic analysis, it was really between the time the attacker got in and then we stopped it, it was less than half an hour. So we did not even give enough time for the attacker to do any real damage before we found out that something is happening and we locked them out. So that, along with the backups, is what we need today.
Thanks, Saurabh, for sharing that incident. Suprakash, would you like to share any incident top of your mind?
Yeah, there are many incidents happen. This, as Saurabh told, many incident is come across the hair also. Like nowadays, we are seeing a lot of incident coming on the WhatsApp fraud, the CEO fraud. The CEO is telling, please, buy some coupons and give it immediately. And some of the, there are 10,000 people on that. One person will be falling prey on that, and there will be a loss. So that kind of things are happening, and the phishing simulation plays a very big role because we are all exposed to the external emails. So linking and the WhatsApp and the social media frauds are the things which we have to be very careful. And along with the technical solution, employee awareness also plays a big role. And as a CISO, we should keep that in mind that our employee also has to be trained on what to be done and not to be done on this whole process.
Sure. A culture has to be there,
Yeah.
the organization. Yeah,
It's
sure.
the overall system. It's not only the technical things, it is like people and the process, technology, tool, everything has to play a big role. And that is the message I'm to give it to CISO. See the overall CISO's dashboard and diagram. Yeah.
So today's discussion makes one thing very clear, that backups are no longer just a storage strategy, they are a survival strategy. So thank you, Suprakash. Thank you, Saurabh, for sharing such valuable insights with our audience. And thank you to everyone watching Talks with Kalpna CXO Spotlight. We look forward to continuing this cybersecurity leadership series with you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kalpna. Thank you, Suprakash ji. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. We'll see you again.
For more updates from CXOTV, please like and subscribe to our channel.